Here is an American doctor who has served in Gaza. Let's hear from him. What's really happening in Gaza?
I'm joined by the American medic, Dr. Mossab Nasser. Well, Dr. Nasser, great to have you back on Uncensored, albeit in even more appalling circumstances than the last time we spoke. Just tell me what it's like there right now in Gaza, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what the reality is, because international journalists like me aren't allowed in. As I keep berating Prime Minister Netanyahu, if you want people to believe what you're saying about this, let the international journalists in. But they don't. So we're reliant on very scant detail other than people like you who really know.
Well, thank you, Piers, for having me. Again, it's been a year since we've talked. I believe last time was May 2024 when I was actually at the European hospital in Gaza. There was actually recently bombed, and many civilians were killed in that attack. You've asked me how it is in Gaza today. The best example I can tell you, as someone who lives in Texas, is that the Israelis, unfortunately, or the Israeli army treats the Palestinians in Gaza like animals, almost like a, the game hunting in a ranch in Texas, where you have these high fenced ranches with exotic animals, where hunters go and chase these animals from one side of the fence to the other and kill these animals. And that's unfortunately how the Israeli army treats the Palestinians in Gaza today, like game. And you can actually see the gratification on their faces when they, hunt a child or a woman or destroy a school or a kindergarten. So it is very sad to see that we have reached this reality that at this time in history, people are treated like animals. And, this is what we've heard at the beginning of the war, that Palestinians are human animals, and they have been treated as such for the past almost 2 years now, while the entire world is watching. So probably this is the best example, as someone who lives in Texas and sees how hunters go to these ranches to chase game. That's what we see in Gaza today.
You have, I know, huge amounts of family and friends in Gaza. How many have lost their lives? People that are close to you?
So far, personally, my entire family is in Gaza. I've lost 74 members so far. One of them was my mother. She died last year, almost a year ago. And I just lost my nephew, who's 20 years old, had a life ahead of him, such a handsome, intelligent, bright young man. Who went, again, like game in Texas. He went to look for food for his family, and he was targeted in an Israeli airstrike and died of shrapnels in the chest and the head. And in fact, he died between his father's arms. He bled to death, and by the time the ambulance arrived to take him to the hospital, he was declared dead. So this is the reality. I mean, so far, 74 members of my family have been lost in this vicious war. And I can tell you, Piers, as a Palestinian, and I lead a humanitarian organization, and we try to be as much as we can neutral and unbiased in our judgment. But we're left with no choice but to speak up. And I can tell you, watching these images coming out of Gaza on a daily basis of children being amputated, malnourished, head injuries, amputations, many are burnt alive. Until last night, we've seen those images coming out of Gaza. I can tell you, show me the gas chambers, honestly. The death in a gas chamber is 100 times more merciful than being burnt alive in an Israeli fire. That is the reality where we are today. So we are looking at the Holocaust live on 4K screens, and our politicians, our human rights organizations, our celebrities are just watching and feel helpless. I don't know if they endorse it or they can't speak up, but it's time to speak up. You cannot just sit on the sidelines watching this horrific murder take place right in front of our eyes, and then maybe 10 or 100 years from now say, well, we wish we've done something about it. This is the time.
As you know, the Israeli argument has remained that they are on a mission to take out Hamas, they say Hamas continue to operate and live amongst civilian populations. And therefore, as they take out the terrorists with these strikes, they are inevitably going to kill civilians in the process, but that doesn't make it an unjust or immoral war, that they are defending themselves against a terrorist attack of enormous and horrific scale. And this is the only way that they can dismantle Hamas. What is your response to them?
Piers, I think if that is really the case, that's the most failed military operation in history. You have one of the most sophisticated armies in the world with the most sophisticated technologies. They can go and surgically get to Hamas, terrorists from Gaza or in Gaza if they want to. But that is not the case. What we see is, deliberate targeting of schools, of homes. My nephew was not a Hamas. He's not even a Hamas sympathizer. He went to look for food and he was killed, along with 24 innocent people like him who were waiting in line to get food for their families. It's a trophy hunt. It has absolutely nothing to do with Hamas today. It is basically an obvious and clear ethnic cleansing, and only someone that lives in denial or someone who's honestly completely crazy would believe otherwise.
Well, I've resisted the call from many that it's a genocide on the basis that it seemed to me that Israel, for a long time, I believed, had a fundamental right to defend itself, and that's what they were doing. I have to say, when I listened to Smodrich, one of the more right-wing of a very right-wing cabinet under Netanyahu, talking the other day, he was talking in clear genocidal language. It was unarguable. And when you look at what's happening on the ground in Gaza, I don't see any plan other than the apparent total disintegration of all infrastructure there and the killing of as many people as possible, all under the pretext that they say that they're only going after Hamas and doing so in as humane a way as possible. It just doesn't seem that what we're seeing on a daily basis and hearing on a daily basis represents that pretext at all. And I also see no end game. I don't understand what Israel's plan is here, other than what Smodrich says it is, which is to clear everybody out, which is that is genocide. If you eradicate a people from their home based on ethnicity, that is a genocide. So, all those who've been calling it that, and I've been resisting, I've now been saying I find it almost impossible to disagree now, given what we're witnessing.
Well, you've come a long way, Piers, and I admire you, and I respect that you have really changed your position on what's happening in Gaza. It's as I said, it's obvious. You can't really deny the fact that what's happening is a genocide. What's happening is an ethnic cleansing of an entire population. Are you still with me?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's undeniable. The mass starvation of children, the malnutrition that the children of Gaza are facing. We've just evacuated 5 children out of Gaza to Texas, actually, for treatment. And one of them really straight to the ICU from Gaza, malnourished, broken bones, amputated arm. It's horrific. I carried those children between my arms all the way from Egypt, first evacuated from Gaza to Egypt and then to the US. It's heartbreaking to see these children having to suffer that level of suffering for absolutely no reason. This is not a war about Hamas. This is not a war about defending Israel defending itself. This is simply a clear ethnic cleansing. I am not a lawyer or an attorney to give a label for what's happening, but many of the lawyers have basically described what's happening in Gaza as a genocide. And in fact, the food distribution plan that Israel is enforcing and forcing upon humanitarian organizations today clearly reflects that this is basically an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. Having the Palestinian household or family members basically to go and pick their aid from a specific location that's highly fenced with checkpoints effectively. It's another reason for Israel to kidnap more Palestinians and for them to disappear forever. I still have many of my colleagues from Nasser Hospital have been kidnapped since the beginning of the war. These doctors have never come back. Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, he fought, for his patients until the last second. No one knows where his whereabouts. All the news indicates that he's being tortured in Israeli jails. Many, many amazing doctors had absolutely nothing to do with Hamas. Just disappeared. The targeting of journalists, the targeting of aid workers, the targeting of children. What does that have to do with Hamas? And again, as I said, if you cannot defeat Hamas throughout all this time, almost what, 16, 17 months, to me, that's the most failed military operation in history.
Well, it's clearly not working because the hostages haven't been released. They should be, absolutely should be, but they haven't been, which means the military operation by Israel's forces to secure their release just isn't working. This strategy just does not work. Listen, Dr. Nasser, it's great to talk to you. Thank you for the work that you do. I'm so sorry about the incredible loss to your family and your mother and your nephew and all the others that you've lost from your extended family in Gaza. My heart goes out to you and to your family. It's become an utterly horrific war, this, and it has to end. But I thank you for joining me again.
Thank you, Piers.
Thank you for watching. Let us know about your thoughts on this. See you in the next video.